ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। Living intelligently or intelligent living, that is the topic of our discussion during these 3 days. Living intelligently can be simply defined as living in harmony with the realities of life. There are certain realities in life, and living in harmony with them, living in keeping with them would be intelligent living. Just as there is a reality which is called the law of gravity. If something is dropped in the air, it falls to the earth because of the pull of gravity. So living intelligently is to respect that law and climb down the stairs rather than jumping from the balcony. So that is intelligent living. We know that fire burns, and therefore if you touch fire or try to hold the burning charcoal in your palm, it will burn. Therefore, you use tongs to pick them up. That is intelligent living. Thus, there is a lot of intelligent living in our life. We know many things in our life. Man has been gathering intelligence over the history. There were times when we were not very intelligent, meaning that we did not have that much knowledge about the forces of nature. And perhaps the thunderstorms or the lightning, all of these may have been intimidating events, perhaps for human beings when he did not understand what was the reason for them. As we understood the nature, as we understand now the laws of nature, slowly then the human being has learned how to use those laws and relate with the nature in such a manner that we can use those forces of nature to our advantage. Thus we know that the water or anything falls from a higher level to a lower level. There's a lot of static energy is converted to kinetic energy. Use that, and so human uses it to generate power. That's intelligent living. You make the water flows from higher level to lower level, and then you raise it in a tank so that you can get a continuous supply of water. Intelligent living. So these are all examples of intelligent living. When you leave your home, you know your destination and you know also the road leading to destination. We have the GPS system these days, and therefore even if you do not know, then at least that also tells you and talks to you also. Make a right turn after half a mile. If you make a wrong turn, take a U-turn, they will tell you. So to know the destination and then drive or travel on the road leading to destination is intelligent living. At that time, if you are at the intersection, then you know which road leads to a destination, that's the road you will take. It is possible that that road may be rough. Road going to the right, which you are supposed to take, may be not well paved, it may be rough. Whereas the road going on the left may be well paved, may be good looking, more tempting, and still you don't take that road, you take the road that leads you to a destination. That is intelligent living. On the other hand, if I took the road which appeared to be beautiful, smooth surface, tree-lined, and therefore I made a choice because I chose the road because it looks good, without worrying whether or not it leads to my destination, then it would be unintelligent living. So intelligent living and unintelligent living, intelligent choice, unintelligent choice have meaning, these expressions of words have meaning, when there is something right and something wrong, or something beneficial and something hurtful. When there is a course, when there is a choice where one course is helpful, other course is hurtful, then choosing a course that is helpful is intelligent, and choosing the course that is helpful and avoiding that which is hurtful would be intelligent. On the other hand, choosing a course which is hurtful for various reasons, either because I did not know that this was hurtful, or I know it is hurtful and still somehow I am forced to take it. Something within me forces me to do that. Knowing that drinking alcohol is bad for my health, and still at 6:30 in the evening, something forces me to reach out for the bottle. These moths perhaps do not know that jumping in the fire is going to, it means the death. Maybe they know it also. The moths simply jump into fire. There is such an attraction for fire. So sometimes knowingly we live intelligently, but very often unknowingly we make wrong choices. Unknowingly we make choices where we wind up hurting ourselves. That would be unintelligent living. Interestingly enough, man is born unintelligent. Understand what is unintelligent. Intelligent is to do what is right, what is helpful, and that would be to make a choice which is in keeping with the reality of life. Unintelligent is not knowing what is helpful, or sometimes taking what is hurtful to be helpful. That's the worst thing. Not only knowing that this thing hurts me, but taking what hurts me to be, taking that to be helping me. Understand this. That would be very, very unintelligent. Unfortunately, human being is born with such an unintelligence. We are born unintelligent, and in our life we have to become intelligent. The Kathopanishad says, Paranchikhani vyatrat swayambhuhu tasmat parang pasyati nantaratman. Kathopanishad says, Swayambhuhu, the self-created, self-existent, self-sufficient, and the Lord who is independent. The Lord who is independent. he has made the senses of the human being outward looking. Paranchi khani. Khani means the sense organs, means mind, our personality. Paranchi is made outward. Who has made it? Swayambhu. This self-created and independent Lord has made the senses and the mind and the personality of the human being outward. Call it extrovert or outward. Tasmat parang pashyati nantaratman. Therefore, the senses naturally look outward. Nantaratmanam, they do not see the self. So this is a built-in unintelligence in our life. What is built-in unintelligence? That our senses and our mind have a natural affinity or a natural attachment or natural liking for the objects of the world. There is a natural liking or fascination for the objects and achievements and accomplishments of the world. The senses have the natural urge to enjoy and indulge into the objects of senses, the pleasurable objects. The ego has a natural urge to indulge into possession of wealth and power and name and fame. So these are natural urges. In the sense organs, there are natural urges to indulge into the pleasurable objects. In the heart, there is a natural urge to have attachment for other people or living beings. In the ego, there is a natural urge for acquiring, possessing the wealth and name and fame and power. We are born as though with this kind of tendencies. Lord Krishna says, Indriyasya indriyasyarthe ragadveshu vyavasthito. Ragadveshu vyavasthito. I am deliberately quoting here passages from Upanishad of Bhagavad Gita for those who are familiar with them. So they find connections and they see things. And those who are not familiar need not worry. But just to make a point that all of this comes from our scriptures. That what you are listening to is the unfoldment of our scriptures. Although the topic is a general topic and meant to help us in our day-to-day living, which is what we want. But that's what Vedanta teaches us. The Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and all these texts, in fact, teach us how to live a successful life, how to make our life successful. They enlighten us about what true success is and then guide us as to how to live our life so that life becomes a process of achieving success. That's what Vedanta is all about. And therefore, whatever we talk ultimately has its source only in Vedanta. Sometimes we quote, sometimes we do not quote, but it all comes from there only. So Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Indriyasya indriyasyarthe ragat dvesho vyavasthito. Here, Arjuna, our sense organs have a natural affinity. Our sense organs have built-in raga and dvesha. Sense organs, mind, our personality has a natural tendency for raga and dvesha, for attachment and aversion. Inasmuch as our interactions with the world are preceded by attachment and aversion, that we have a tendency always to relate to the world as preceded by attachment and aversion. All my responses originate from my ragadveshas, my likes and dislikes, my attachment and aversion, this is a natural tendency. I am born with that tendency. Ragadvesho vyavasthito. Vyavasthito means they obtain that. Thus, I am born with a tendency of raga and dvesha, attachment and aversion, which deny me the true understanding of things as they truly are. Meaning that I have a tendency to project, I have a tendency to superimpose, I have a tendency to see things through the glasses of my likes and dislikes, or attachment and aversion. Therefore, I do not see things as they are, but then I see them as shown by my glasses of likes and dislikes. So understand that we are born with these tendencies. We are born with a false thinking, false perception. We are born with a false perception. So understand, science and Vedanta, that we are different. We are born ignorant about the world around ourselves and ignorant about ourselves, ignorant about the self. But we must know that the ignorance that we have about the world is of a different nature from the ignorance I have about the self. About the world, I do not know anything. I am totally ignorant about the world, and then slowly I am educated. First by the mother, then by the father, then by the teacher, and with the help of the scientists and help of the storehouse of knowledge that is available to us, I am educated, and that's how I slowly become enlightened or become knowledgeable about the world around me. And that's how I know how to respond intelligently to the world. So ignorance about the world is what we call absence of knowledge. There are two kinds of ignorance. One is absence of knowledge, not knowing something. I do not know that fire is hot. As a little child, I don't know the fire is hot. Looks very attractive. I crawl there. I want to catch. Usually mother is around, therefore she stops me. Since she stops me, then the idea of catching that fire continues to remain in my mind. And one day when she is not around, I want to catch it. Then I am burned, then whoo. Next time, whoo. Then I myself will not go further. Now I learned something about nature of fire, that it burns. I did not know. So this is the kind of ignorance that we have, not knowing. I just pick up whatever is on my way and put it in my mouth as a child. Anything. The child will catch hold of a snake also, doesn't know. There's a snake, it's dangerous, doesn't know. It looks at it finds $100 bill, just wants to tear it off, doesn't know, it's a valuable thing. Just ignorance. And this ignorance can be very easily shed off by the knowledge which we gain in our day-to-day upbringing as well as schools and colleges. This ignorance slowly shed off. There is another kind of ignorance. Ignorance of the nature of not knowing the true nature, but taking it to be different from what it is. Other kind of ignorance is not just to know what it is, but then to take it to be contrary to what it is. You know the standard example of rope snake? When I'm taking a walk in a garden, it's evening, and there is very limited light. As it is a problem in seeing, and then light itself is now, because of the evening, very limited. And I see a snake. And snakes are very common in the garden. I'm walking and I see a snake. I look around, nobody's watching me, I slowly retreat. Somebody then finds me retreating. Swamiji, then what happened? I thought you were taking a walk. How come you're coming back? Then I tell him, I share the secret, there is a snake there. Where is the snake, Swami? I saw a snake, 4 feet long snake. And he measured my, the pulse also was high, my blood pressure risen, I was very afraid. Then he says, let us go, let us see, Swami, what kind of a snake it is. And we proceed toward that object. Fortunately, he has a torchlight. He saw a torchlight, it turns out to be just a piece of rope. So what was rope was taken by me to be a snake. No, this is another kind of ignorance. Not knowing the rope as rope and taking it to be snake. You see, as long as the idea that this object is a snake, as long as that idea persists in my mind, so long I will never know truly what it is. If I simply did not know that, then there is scope that I'll discover that it's a rope. But if already there's a conclusion in my mind that this is a snake, then that conclusion, that false conclusion has to go, because subsequently all my responses are based on my conclusion that this is a snake. So next time I may not even walk along that path. When I go to garden again, I know there is a snake in that area, I may avoid that. And thus, my behavior or my responses are based on my conclusion. So Upanishad says that human being is born with wrong conclusions. What is meant by wrong conclusions is conclusions that are contrary to the realities of life. Not knowing the reality is one thing, and knowing it as contrary to what it is different thing. Not knowing that fire burns is one thing, then you discover that it burns, and that's it. But taking it with the example. For example, we do not know that the sun is standing still and earth is rotating around the sun. This we do not know. And the perception is that the sun is traveling from east to west, and therefore my natural conclusion is that the sun is traveling or rotating around the earth. So not knowing the sun is standing still and taking it to be rotating around the earth. Then to understand that sun is standing still requires a lot of logic and understanding. Similarly, in our life also, there is this unintelligence. Unintelligence about ourselves, unintelligence about the world, unintelligence about God. These three entities make up our life. Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara, the individual, the world that I interact with, and Ishvara, who is the creator of the world, and myself. These three make up our life. And in what we call day-to-day life, all these three are constantly involved. What is day-to-day life? This individual interacting with the world based on the laws created by God. See, my interactions with the world are based on my understanding of the laws created by Ishvara. So, Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. In Sanskrit they use these expressions, technical expressions. Adhyatmika, Adibhautika, Adidaivika. The individual, the elemental and the cosmic. For example, that I can see you involves all these three aspects. It involves me, my eyes, which have the capacity to see. You, who have the colors and forms, so that's the Jagat. And this seeing or perception becomes possible only when there is light of sun. So Jiva, the Adhyatmika, the seer, the Jagat, the Adibhaudika, the elemental world which is the scene of the object, the subject, the object, and the subject-object interaction becomes possible only when, in this case, there is the blessing of sun who provides us the light, then alone the eyes can see. just to help you see the fact that all these three entities are constantly involved in every moment in our life, that's all. Whether you like it or not, but all the three, Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. Adhyatmika, Adibhautika, Adidevika. The individual, the elemental and the cosmic. All these three are constantly involved in every interaction in our life. For example, the speaking on my part is possible when I have the organ of speech, which is the individual. Then there are the sounds which the speech utters, that is elemental. And there is this God fire, who is said to be the presiding deity of the organ of speech, and by his grace I am able to speak. So in that, all the three are involved. Then you can hear, that also involves all the three. You, the individual, having the faculty of hearing, the sounds of the words, which are elemental objects which are heard, and there is this, what we call the Ishvara, in the form of the presiding deity, in the form of the deity called Dig, or the Devata of quarters, which by grace of which the faculty of hearing functions. Swami, this is all superstition. Where is this Devata? What is this? You say that fire God is involved in the organ of speech, and the God of quarters is involved in hearing, the God of sun is involved in seeing, but at least sun is very evident. But God in one form or the other is involved in every interaction. Call them the laws. If you do not like to use the word God, in Swamiji's words, call it the laws of the Ishvara. The laws may make any transaction possible. There are some laws by which these words are produced by the organ of speech, some laws by which the words travel to your faculty of hearing, some laws by which you are able to hear them. They are all based on laws. So those laws are involved, the subject is involved, the object is involved, the laws are involved. All these three are involved in every interaction in our life. Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara, the individual, the elemental world and the cosmic force or Ishvara. These are the three entities making up our life. And each one of these three has a reality about it. What would be intelligent living is living or carrying out every interaction based on the realities of these three. Unintelligent living will be to interact or act in a manner which is contrary to these realities. So intelligent living and unintelligent living. The question of intelligent or right comes only when there is something wrong. Otherwise there is no right and wrong. You go for a walk, just taking a stroll, going to a mall. For what? For taking a walk. So which way should you go? You must go clockwise or anti-clockwise. What does it matter, Swamiji? After I'm just taking a walk, in which case there is nothing right or wrong. But suppose you are circumambulating around Lord's, in a temple, then how will you go? Clockwise or anti-clockwise? Clockwise. Then clockwise will be right, anti-clockwise will be wrong, because there is a certain rule there. A certain law exists. Therefore, doing it in accordance to the law becomes right. Doing it against the law becomes wrong. Understand, right and wrong, intelligent and intelligent have the meaning only when there is a certain order. If there is no order, there is no law, then nothing is right, nothing is wrong. Driving the road on the right side of the road is right in the United States. Is wrong in India, let us say, but then they are driving on the left side. Whatever the law is. But which side of this pavement should you walk, Swamiji? Which sidewalk should you walk? The right sidewalk or left sidewalk? That's your free will, because so far there is no law that we should only walk on the right or the left. So anything is okay. When there is no law, then there is nothing intelligent, nothing unintelligent, everything is fine. When there is law, then only the question of intelligent and unintelligent comes. But that there are certain laws, certain realities in our life. Therefore, living a life in keeping with those realities would be right or intelligent, and living a life in violation to those realities would be unintelligent. Why unintelligent? Because then I'll be living a life which is hurtful to me. I myself become the cause of hurting me. Thus, for the human being, it is possible for him to or her to live a life by which he or she can help himself or herself, or he can hurt himself. I can help myself or I can hurt myself. Both of these are possible for me. Because we have a free will. Other living beings have no free will. Their life is lived as programmed by nature. Therefore, there is nothing intelligent, nothing unintelligent. Or you can say that all other forms of life always live intelligently. They never live unintelligently. Therefore, cow always eats grass. Or what is vegetarian? Never, if you put a piece of meat, etc., just turn away from that. Put grass and piece of meat, dog will turn away from grass and eat meat. That is intelligent for that, meaning that the rest of the life and the rest of the nature automatically lives intelligently. Because it is so programmed, because it does not have freedom to live unintelligently, therefore it is programmed to live intelligently, whereas human being is not totally programmed, and therefore he has the freedom to make choices, the freedom of will. As a result, he can make a choice which helps him, or he can make a choice which hurts him, depending upon whether he is knowledgeable or whether he is ignorant, whether he has the right perception or wrong perception. So therefore, intelligent living simply reduces to having the right perception about life, knowing the basic laws of life. That's all. But this built-in unintelligence, on account of the fact that we have been living this life for countless lifetimes, so we believe that this is not our first birth, this is the birth which is a result of our past karmas performed in past births. Swamiji, why did I perform karma in the past birth? Because of tendencies inherited from yet previous birth. Why did I have tendencies at that time? Because of tendencies inherited in yet previous birth. The Swamiji, where did all these things begin? There is no beginning. This is the process, ongoing process from the beginningless time. This is our belief. Meaning that the tendencies with which we are born in this life is not simply a product of our parents and stuff like that. It is something that we have inherited from the time beginningless. The psychologists simply, since they do not accept the past, but therefore they always blame the parents for everything every problem of the child. Is because of a mother or because of a father. And they make children also believe this. So when children go to therapists, then that is what the therapist teaches. You behave like this, that's because your mother did not do this to you, or she did this to you. Mainly mother is the problem. Father is not much a problem. He doesn't seem to take much interest, I guess. But mother is the problem. Poor mother, she simply devoted herself to raising this child. Day and night, and made all sacrifices. And she is the one to be most blamed. Naturally, when you do something, then you can make a mistake. If you don't do anything, no mistake at all. But I guess the therapists expect that mother must be omniscient. She must be all-knowing. She must know everything. about the child, about not only present, she must know everything about the past of the child and what kind of tendencies the child is born with, and therefore what to do, what not to do, everything she should know. Which is unfortunately not the case. Mother is also a human being with her own limitations, and therefore all she has is the best intention, but not necessarily best information, and therefore she functions based on whatever information she has. But these days children grow up and say, Mom, you did this, you did not do that, you are responsible for this. But that is a problem because they do not accept any past life. But if you accepted that every child is born with inherent tendencies, like every seed has its inherent tendencies, regardless of what a gardener does, the best treatment the gardener may provide, but then if it's a seed of a lemon, then it will be a lemon tree, it won't be a mango tree, regardless of, then the lemon can complain about the garden, this fellow did not provide me proper fertilizer. But remember that you are born with the tendency of a lemon, so therefore you are sour. Regardless of whatever gardener does, he can make it sweet. Gardener has a responsibility to tend the plant and do what is necessary, provide the water, provide fertilizer, provide support, provide shelter, provide the fencing, provide protection. All of that is fine. And that's what the parents hopefully should do. And I guess they do it in their best way. But ultimately, regardless of what a gardener does, the nature of the tree is going to depend also upon the nature of the samskaras or the inherent nature of the seed. All right, now that is by the way. But the thing is that since we accept the life as an ongoing process, therefore the tendencies with which we are born is a product of all the karmas performed in many past lives. And we are born with those tendencies. Thus, we are born with a lot of built-in unintelligence, built-in wrong perceptions, or wrong understanding, or wrong conclusions, or wrong opinions. Without being taught, as far as the world is concerned, I need to be taught as to what it is. As far as my own self is concerned, without being taught, I already have my opinions and conclusions about myself. As to who I am, I already have a conclusion without being told. At one point, Shankaracharya says in a bhashya, in a commentary, that look at this person. In spite of the Upanishad and the teachers telling him a number of times that you are Brahman, that does not seem to sink into his mind. And without being told, he says, I am so and so son, I am the grandson, I am the brother, I am the father, I am this. Without being told, he automatically takes himself to be so, and in spite of being told, he doesn't accept. Thus we are born with these very strong tendencies. I tell this story often as to how, in spite of being told, things just do not make impact upon us. Like a Swami like me, in some place, giving these talks for as long as 2 months, in what they call Chaturmasa. In India there is this time of monsoon, the 2 months are called Chaturmasa. There are 4 months, but they are called 2 months, of roughly August and September, that time. So these sannyasis who are normally traveling or wandering, they rest in one place because in monsoon they cannot travel. Therefore, they would camp in one place. And with the members of the community, then they will organize some kind of discourses. And thus this sadhu will give discourses twice a day, morning and evening. And a sannyasi, therefore, is talking about Vedanta. And Vedanta has one message, you are Brahman, you are limitless. This is what Vedanta keeps on teaching. And in every discourse, this theme will be there, indirectly or indirectly will be there. For 2 months, this kind of discourses are given. Towards the end of these 2 months, this one man came to see this Swamiji, and he had a private meeting. He was very much disturbed. Swamiji asked him, "What's the matter? You seem to be so disturbed. Hey, you've been sitting in the front row, you've been listening to the talks and enjoying them. I know that you understand them very well." "Yes, Swamiji, I very well understand what all you are teaching me. I enjoy it." "Why are you so disturbed then?" But Swamiji, one practical problem. 2 days ago, from the evening talks, when I was returning from the lecture hall, and when I put on my shoes, and I listened to the talk, I was in my own mood, I put on my shoes, and I was just walking towards my home, and somebody came from behind and caught hold of me. Says, "Can you see? Do you have eyes?" Says, "Why? I have eyes." "Are you blind?" "I'm not blind." "If you're not blind, then are you a thief?" Says, "No. Look at the shoes. Whose shoes are you wearing?" Then I realized that I was wearing somebody else's shoes, same kind of shoes, but mine was an older pair of shoes. It was a new pair of shoes. I didn't know. Swamiji, look at that fellow. Look at his audacity. Look at, he says, "You are a thief. You are blind. What is this? How can you tell me that?" So since 2 nights I am not able to sleep, Swamiji, because he insulted me. I am hurt. See, Swamiji says, "Look, for 2 months, morning and evening, I am telling you, you are Brahman. And that has not affected you at all. And once this fellow tells you that you are a thief or you are so and so, it has affected you so much." So this is called the second level of unintelligence. And a common question is there, "Swamiji, I know this. I know Vedanta. But how to put it in practice? Now what do we do?" So thus, at one level we seem to know, we seem to understand, and still there is something within us because of which that understanding does not seem to be translated in our life. That's the second level of unintelligence. So let us recognize 2 levels of unintelligence. One level of intelligence is in terms of understanding, meaning we are born with wrong understanding or wrong perceptions. And what happens is, then that understanding, when it is every day my mind keeps things wrongly, that becomes habitual thinking. In the beginning, I take the wrong thing to be right, and ultimately it becomes a habit, so that impulsively I act in that manner. Thus, this ignorance or this wrong perception, wrong thinking has become so rooted in our mind that it has come down to emotional level, and therefore our behavior now is governed not by our wisdom, it is governed by our inbuilt habits or habitual patterns of reactions. And therefore, in spite of knowing, sometimes I find myself acting contrary to my knowledge or contrary to my wisdom. As Arjuna asked this question, "Atha kena prayuktoyam papam chardi purushaha anichanna vivarshanaya baladiva niyojitaha." O Lord, Arjuna asked of Lord Krishna, "O Lord, what is it within a person that compels him to act in a manner which is contrary to his own values?" Anichandavi, he does not want to do that. He doesn't want to utter that word. He doesn't want to lift his hand. He doesn't want to hurt somebody. He doesn't want to eat something. He doesn't want to do something. But there is something within him, some kind of force within him or her that compels him to do that. So that there is compelling forces, there are what we call compulsions or some pressures. The inner pressures which seem to force us to act in a manner which is contrary to our own wisdom, our own understanding. So thus, 2 levels of unintelligence with which we are born. One is the level, the intelligence at the level of understanding. Because we have an intellect with which we learn, with which we understand, and that understanding governs our life. At any moment, what I do, if I do it deliberately, at any moment, whatever I deliberately do is governed by my understanding. Therefore, even though I am very sincere, but if my understanding is wrong, then I'll wind up doing something which is wrong. And secondly, even though my understanding may be right, there may be some pressures or compulsions within which make me act in a manner which is wrong or contrary to my understanding. Two things are there. And therefore, intelligent living will involve intelligence at both the levels. At the level of understanding, at the same also at the level of our interaction or translating that understanding in our life. This is what will be the topic of our discussion. We quoted that verse from Kathopanishad. Paranche khane vyatranat swayambhuhu Ishvara who is swatantra. There is nobody to ask him. When they ask this question, why did God create this world like this? No answer. Swami, why are we born ignorant? I don't know. How nice would it have been had we been all enlightened, Then this world would have been just heavens. There will be no strife, there is no problem. If all were born wise about ourselves, about world, about God, if we were born wise, there will be no violence, there will be no cruelty, no conflicts, no problems at all. Every person would have been very loving and compassionate and giving, and there will be nothing but Brahmaloka in this earth. Because that's what our inherent nature is. Inherent nature is that if we really acted as we truly are, then all of us will be angels. Because we are angels. As Upanishad says, Amrutasya putraha. And Swami Vivekananda was very fond of quoting this again. Amrut, hey, you are the children of immortal. And therefore, if we really acted and lived as we truly are, then we would be angels. We are angels. But then, it is this unintelligence that is depriving us of our being angels and makes us devils. So, what is gods and devils? So, we are actually gods, but then we find ourselves acting as devils sometimes. The devil is not our nature, it is only a product of the unintelligence, and it can be corrected. Meaning that a person can get, Swamiji, is it possible to change the nature? Swamiji, some people are convinced you cannot change the nature. Everything can change, nature cannot change. But nature can definitely change. And that is our endeavor. That's the real purushartha, or the real effort that the human being has to make, is to bring about a complete transformation in himself or herself, based on the wisdom and based on the methods of translating that wisdom into our daily life. So first level of wisdom will be to understand what are the realities about life. Because we have a wrong understanding about all these three. We have the wrong understanding about ourselves, wrong understanding about the world, and wrong understanding about God. And fortunately, Vedanta provides us the right understanding about all the three. Every scripture does not provide that understanding. Recently, I've been listening to some tapes on God delusion. And I don't know whether you know about that or not. I also know very little about it. Just first little portion about this book called The God Delusion. I listened to couple of first CDs. And what an outrage about God about, he says, these people they take pride in claiming themselves to be atheists and not believing God. And they claim that there are more atheists than who appear on the surface because people do not want to accept that they are atheists. In fact, many people don't believe in God. But if you declare that I am atheist, then you will be ostracized by the society, and therefore they don't declare what is within their heart. But people don't believe in God. He says, I don't believe in God. And he has written 1,000 pages, in proving how there is no God. So he thinks that he is in fact enlightening us or making us wise about God. But that's another ignorance also. So scriptures who portray God, their problem is that this Bible, the Old Testament, talks about God, where God is presented as an entity who is subject to get angry, who can punish you, who can favor somebody, who can punish somebody, who can be partial to somebody, these are the stories given about God, and I don't believe in God. But he doesn't believe in that God. So when people claim that I don't believe in God, they already have concluded what the concept of God is, and that's the God they don't believe in. So it's the Abrahamic God, all right. So it comes down in all the three religions. First the Judaism, and other two, what he called them as, not branches, but two derivatives. The Judaism is the main, the derivatives are the two, the Christianity and Islam. Means they have the same concept about God. An autocratic God, one who's away from the world, one who's sitting there, controls the affairs of the world. So Einstein also said, I don't accept a God, a personal God, who meddles in our life. Because that God, the God presented there, he meddles in your life. If you don't do what he wants you to do, then he can punish you, he can get angry. So God will kill you. Some people say, if you don't worship God in a certain way, worship in a different way, he'll be angry. And he'll kill you. So God wants not only to worship only in a certain way. You worship in a different way, you are offending him. So God is subject to being offended. Not only being offended, he can get angry. Then he can punish you. When he says, we don't believe in God, he's a very intelligent people. Give all kinds of arguments as to how God is not, Which God is not? This kind of God is not. But God that Vedanta presents, if these fellows studied Vedanta from a competent teacher, of course, because they may have studied Vedanta, they claim to have studied, they read books about Hinduism, so they think that they know Hinduism, and they know Christianity, and they know all of this. But I guess they do not know Hinduism or Vedanta. If they know, they have not known it from a competent teacher who can make them see. And therefore the concept of God that are prevailing also create lots of problems. Therefore, the right concept of God is important. The right concept of self is important. The right concept of the world of universe is important. We are born with the misconceptions of all these three. And as I said, our conceptions, our perception of these three determine what we do, what our objectives are, and what actions we perform. All of this is determined by our understanding of perception of these three. And therefore, generally, our life is unintelligent. The only one who lives intelligently, the only person who lives truly intelligently, is described by Lord Krishna as Sthita Prajna, or a wise person. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare puredehi naiva kurvan nakaryan. This person lives in the city of 9 gates, which is his body. He lives there happily. And whose happiness or whose goodness or whose tranquility, whose love can in no way be affected by whatever is within or without, meaning that he abides in his love and wholeness and goodness. That is the most intelligent person. Etad buddhva buddhiman syat kruta krutyasya bharata. Lord Krishna says, gaining this knowledge, one becomes intelligent in the true sense of the word. So ultimately, intelligent living will be to understand Vedanta. But anyway, what we are going to discuss during these 3 days is, in our day-to-day life, how to live intelligently. Right understanding, right choices, and right priorities, right values. How to live a life which is in keeping with the obtaining realities or obtaining laws or obtaining order. That will be the theme of the discussion in these 3 days. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri